Do you ever feel like your mind won't stop racing? Hi, I'm Dr. Elisha Goldstein, and I have helped thousands of people reclaim their mental space from the chaos of overthinking. Today, I'm going to share with you 3 powerful tools to quiet those relentless thoughts. If you're new here, it's important to know I'm a clinical psychologist. I have authored numerous books on this topic, and I run a therapeutic coaching program called Uncover the Power Within. If you want to look to work with me more closely, or you just want a collection of free resources, go ahead and click on the links in the description below. Okay, as a clinical psychologist over the past 20 years, I have seen firsthand how crippling overthinking can be. Whether it's just everyday decisions, or it's regrets in life, or it's about how we're relating to the world with all the massive amount of chaos that's happening right now, it can paralyze even the best of us. But it doesn't have to be that way. Let's dive into our first tool, mindful breathing. At this point, everyone who's done yoga or meditation or read any kind of magazine has heard about mindful breathing. And it's not just about taking deep breaths. It's about anchoring your attention into the now and drastically cutting down the noise of 1,000 thoughts. And here's exactly how it works. And then I'm going to just kind of give you a little bit of a support, even if you've heard about it before, so you can get started or restarted with it. So there's 2 different levers in our brain. And it's important for you to know that when you are engaging with pulling the lever of focusing on something in this present moment, especially something somatically like the breath, you turn down the lever of the brain that is igniting what's called our narrative network, which is the self-referencing network. It's all about me, 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 me. It's the thinking, thinking, thinking. So we're not trying to stop thinking or quiet thinking with mindful breathing. We're not trying to do that. It's really just actually about focusing on something that's here in the now, this breath. And by doing that, we're pulling the lever of turning the volume down on the thinking. Now, this is kind of like a rubber band, a rubber match in some way with the mind. And what does that mean? That means you can expect that your default mode, because it has so much strength to it, is going to kick in and the 1,000 thoughts are going to come racing back. That's okay, no problem. We kind of expect that. So then we just take note of that and we bring ourselves back to this, because as we start to settle back with a little bit more rhythm into the breathing, the mind begins to quiet a little bit. You have to trust that, trust the neuroscience of it. Okay, so here's how it works. So we want to just get into a comfortable position. You could be seated or lying down. And if you've heard this before, then bring a beginner's mind for a second. And then you just want to start off by just taking a couple deep breaths. That's just to settle in and separate the moment from where you came to this moment right now. If you just start to try and do mindful breathing out of nowhere, it's going to be a hard transition. So take a few deep breaths in through your nose, out through your mouth. That's meant to release a little bit. And then what you do is you just see if you can be aware of your body just naturally breathing. It's like finally a moment in the day you don't have to do anything. You don't have to manage anything at all. You don't have to try and breathe a particular way. You can just like notice that your body breathes as it breathes. Now, this could be, there's different types of breathers that we have in the world, in our lives. We have people who breathe a little bit more from their chest, people who breathe a little bit more from their abdomen, people who kind of have a overall breathing in all different areas, and sometimes it's not consistent. That's okay too. Your job is just to be aware of your breath coming in and your breath going out. If you want, we're going to try this just for 10 breaths. Okay? So get in a comfortable position. This is how would be a wise way to begin at any time. See if you can notice if there's any holding or tension in your body. The first step is just to like let your shoulders down. A couple deep breaths to begin. Just give yourself permission to do that. And then just see if you can notice your body just naturally breathing without needing to interrupt it at all. If you can follow your breath in, then just recommit to following your breath out. One more time. That's it. As you do that with a certain level of repetition, you're going to get better and better at it and be able to drop in sooner and sooner. Now we'll explore the second tool, the 4 R's. This is recognize, release, refocus, and renew. This is a method that's just not just a set of steps. It's a way to transform your thinking pattern and regain control of your mental landscape. Okay, I'm going to just explain them step by step. So recognize is something that you want to do when you notice that you're emotionally imbalanced. It's a moment that you're feeling anxious. It's a moment you're feeling agitated. It's a moment when you're losing control with your kids for a second or with your loved ones. Or at work when you want to fire off that email. There's something happening in your body. We would just want to recognize it, the tension, the holding that's there. What that does is that steps us into a space between stimulus and response, where there's a bit more choice and possibility in that moment versus just being usurped by our reactivity. So we have a little bit of space there, but what we need to do then is we need to release. What does that mean? Our body has just gone into a fight, flight, freeze response. I promise you check that out. That's what's happening. Your blood flow is going to your muscles. You're probably tense a little bit in that moment. Your heart rate is up a little bit. You're going into that fight, flight, freeze response. That was a primitive reaction from years ago that was meant to keep us safe and survive, but we don't really need it in that moment. What we want to do is be a bit more balanced, right? So we can gain some more control. So we release. So we know we check out where we're holding any tension in our body, including our face. So you can just let our shoulders down a little bit. Take a deep breath, release. What that does is that takes that space between stimulus and response and widens it. What does that do? That creates more choice, more possibility, more perspective. Literally, from a neuroscience perspective, we're bringing more blood flow to the prefrontal region of our brain, which is more involved with emotion regulation and impulse control. So now that we have that, we can begin to have the wherewithal to refocus. So what do we refocus on in that moment? Well, it really depends. It depends on what we're needing. That's going to be the guiding question in that moment. Either, what do I need right now? Maybe I need to take a little break and go get some sunshine on my face because I'm kind of feeling a little out of control. Maybe I need to talk with someone and connect with them. Maybe I need to ask a question instead of just being so judgmental and layering my argument on somebody. Maybe I need to be a bit more curious. Maybe I'm so agitated right now, maybe I need to go just take some space and go do something self-soothing, like either take a walk in the sunshine, or if I'm at home and I have a bathtub, I'm going to take a really nice soothing bath. Could be anything. Or maybe I'm able to just reframe a different perspective, understanding that this person that I'm agitated with is also having a tough time right now. And maybe I'm going to wish them well, because if they were well, they would cease to be so difficult to me. There's a different way of doing this. Or maybe I realize that I actually have a lot to be appreciative of in life, and this is a difficult moment and I can overcome this. Anything like that. Could be opportunities to do that. Opportunities to refocus, to be able to correct and rebalance, or to reframe and get perspective. From that place, we enter into the fourth R, which is renew. We come into a place of renewal. This is the fundamental 4 steps that we use in my therapeutic coaching program called Uncover the Power Within. And we go deep and we use it with repetition so we can begin to create something that I call neuroresilience, that our brain just automatically knows what to do in any given moment to either to rebalance ourselves or be more skillful in our relationships in that we're engaging with any given moment of our lives. So play with this though. Recognize, release, refocus, renew, and see what you notice as you bring that into your life to create more neuroresilience and to be able to be more skillful in the moments that are there. Finally, the third tool is the 4 questions. These are questions adapted from Byron Katie. Why recreate the wheel when it works so well? The ability to check for the usefulness of our thoughts can be really powerful. Even a question like, is this true? Can be a complete game changer to shift our perspective. So I'm going to go over these 4 questions, the way I've adapted them. So here you have a thought like, I'm never going to be able to change the way that or turn my thoughts down or stop overthinking, as an example, right? And you can say to yourself, like, hold on a second. So we can play with it, recognize, release, refocus. We can refocus on these 4 questions so we can use what we learned earlier, right? Refocus, is this true? That I can I'll never be able to turn the volume down overthinking? Well, it certainly feels that way. Do I know that to be absolutely true? 100%. Do I have a crystal ball on this? And then the answer to that has to be, well, I'm not sure it's absolutely true, 100%. Like, that means like everyone around me would agree on that. Is it a fact? Is this thought a fact? It's generally agreed upon by most people. Well, I can't say it's a fact. I can't say it's absolutely true. Okay, so now we have a little bit of space to wiggle with, to kind of play with, right? So there we have, is it absolutely true? Then we kind of create more objectification with it. This is where we bring more mindfulness to it in a lot of ways. We get more awareness. We get more space from it by saying, how does that make me feel, that thought that I'll never be able to turn the volume down overthinking? Or pick any negative belief that you have. You say, well, it makes me feel afraid, or it makes me feel worried, or makes me feel sad. Okay, so do I notice where I feel that in the body? I feel it in my chest. I feel fluttering in my chest, a heaviness in my face. It could be anything, right? You're just kind of being curious. By doing that process, again, you're dialing down the overthinking because you're checking in with the actual present moment experience. And so we asked them, then what does it make me want to do when I have that thought that I'll never be able to dial down the overthinking? Well, it makes me worried. Oh, so it creates more thinking. Interesting. So now we're seeing how the cause and effect of this actually works. So we begin to objectify it so we can get space from it. Is it true? Do I know it to be absolutely true? How does it make me feel? What does it make me want to do? And then finally, what would be different if this thought wasn't here? We can ask ourselves, well, if I didn't have that belief, maybe I'd have more energy to actually work with the stuff that I'm talking about in this video, right? I'd have a little bit more belief, so it'd be more motivation to do it. So check in with yourself. Byron Katie asks, who would I be without this thought? So you can kind of check into that question if you'd like to. Now, Bill is someone in my therapeutic coaching program, Uncover the Power Within. And he's someone who's a professional in life, but riddled with negative thinking and overthinking. And there was some difficult people in his life and his relationships, and a lot of anxiety. And he had been in therapy off and on for years, and even tried other professional training programs. And he was really close to giving up on all of that. And he turned his life around. And using the 4 R's that you learned here, being able to really interrupt those emotional loops that were happening, that were there, also asking those questions like, is this true? Is this absolutely true? These thoughts that I have that I'm riddled with. Also being able to use the power of relationships, meaning finding the right community of people who are going to fan his flame during the good moments and help support him and encourage him during the more challenging moments. Also, finding the right mentor for him was really important so that he could get that type of advice and support that he needed it in the moment, which is what we do in our therapeutic coaching program. So his story is there to tell you that change is absolutely possible and hope is always within reach.
Almost on a daily basis, that I was feeling what I now know is called emotional dysregulation. I didn't have a term for it then, either as fear or anger, but happening almost every day. And in a way where I didn't see how that was ever going to change. That just seemed like life. And that was not a life that I wanted. That it's a life that unfortunately I had experienced before, especially in my childhood, which was definitely characterized by anxiety and um, I would say a lot of loss and a lot of abandonment. And, I had done years and years of therapy, including a more than 10-year stint with a guy who runs something called the Center for Anxiety Care. And unfortunately, felt last year as if I'd made no progress at all. 50 minutes once a week to talk about all these things. And I do that, and it feels better for a while. And then they're right on me again, like later that day. So I very much felt trapped. I very much felt as if I was not making progress. I was like taking Xanax during the workday and sometimes gummies just to get to the point where I could function because the anxiety was so pervasive. And it was around that time I had, like Katie, I think I'd come across your work, Elisha, through other channels, like some of the meditations you did for Calm for that app. And then, started watching some of your YouTube videos. And like Alan, signed up for the 21 Days to Relieving Anxiety course. My primary care physician said that there were studies showing the benefits of mindfulness to people's physical health. The studies showed that the most important part of the mindfulness practice was the accountability, that you have to show up. To show up at the time the group meets. You have to do some preparation maybe before, some engagement after, but you're not just free form. There's structure, and that, to me, I need that structure. So it's the structure in terms of the two meetings we have each week, the structure in terms of the lessons, and the fact that within those meetings, especially in the breakout sessions, people are just genuine, and they're sharing things that are as personal as what I'm sharing, and they're sharing their struggles, and they're sharing their victories.
Yeah.
So to have a space where there are supportive people, both men and women, who are perfectly fine opening up about their challenges and their progress, and sometimes their backsliding. It's just very genuine, very supportive.
Yeah, right. Our cultural upbringing here makes that more challenging for men, women too, at times, that sense of being genuine and vulnerable in that way, because if you're vulnerable, you're going to get sliced with a spear, or whatever it might be. You got to have the guard up. So, we have thousands or hundreds, if not thousands of years of genetics that are kind of have trained that, into us. What if this program didn't exist? What feeling comes up for you?
Really, really scared of where things might have gone for me. Because I was on a definite downward path. I don't know if it was a downward spiral, but it could very easily become one. I would think that with the types of support I was using at the time, that I would probably have turned more heavily toward medication. And I'm not an opponent of medication per se. I think it has its place. It certainly helped me at times. But if the only way I was able to get through a day was to have a couple Xanax at work, that's not sustainable, you know?
Yeah.
That's kind of like finding a way out rather than really addressing things.
So you've gone from a place of taking those couple Xanax a day to a place where you're not needing to take those Xanax regularly in that way anymore.
Haven't done it in months.
Uh-huh.
There are times in life where you can be very analytical about things. You can examine cost and benefit and be very, is that right brain or left brain? I don't remember, but whichever hemisphere of the brain it is, left brain, okay. Like that, being very analytical. But that's not what this decision was about for me. It was, how does this feel? Does this feel like the kind of program that can get me out of this bad place that I've been in? And thankfully, when we spoke, I know you do that with every applicant, kind of see if it's a good fit. I got a really good feeling from that conversation. So I was able to take the leap of faith.
If you resonate with that and want to start a journey for yourself like that today, to find the right skills and the right mentorship and the right community for you, to finally create the kind of neuro resilience that might be supportive for you, then you're welcome to click on the link in the description below. Or if you just want a collection of free resources to continue with after this video, go ahead and find those in the links in the description below as well. Again, my name is Dr. Elisha Goldstein, and I will put another video on the other end of this for you to continue to be nurtured with, supported, educated, and living a life where you can bounce back to better. I'll see you in the next one.